But again, I want to thank all of you for turning out this morning for what is the groundbreaking ceremony for the city of Denver's 60-unit permanent supportive housing project that Mental Health Center of Denver is undertaking. And you'll hear a lot more about the components of this project as we go through the program. But Mental Health Center of Denver is extremely excited about this project, the fact that we're going to be able to provide housing for 60 of our consumers in a project that will be groundbreaking, not just today, but in terms of the way services are provided and the overall facility that's going to come out of this project. As we go through the morning, you'll have a chance to hopefully walk around and see the signs that are down there in the next level, and they will help to familiarize you with how this project will be laid out physically on the site. So just to encourage you to take a look and get a better sense from the signage of what the facility will look like upon completion of construction. So I mentioned that the Sanderson Apartments is going to be 60 units, and the signs also show you a little bit about what kind of amenities those units will have within them. I want to now take a moment to acknowledge all of the folks who are here that are in the category of special people who need to have the presentation of the dignitaries that they are. And I want to start by talking about the elected officials that are here in the audience. And sitting in the first row is the mayor of Denver, Michael Hancock. We also have present Kevin Flynn, who is a Denver City Council person. Kevin, thank you for being here. In addition, we have a number of MHCD board members here. We have Chuck Everill, right there, Chuck. We have Hannah Schechter. And we have two more board members who are just walking in. Curtis Smith. Hello, Curtis. And Nancy Gary. I should point out that Nancy Gary is a lifetime board member for MHCD, and she's been involved with the organization since the inception. So please come in and have seats if you'd like to, Nancy and Curtis. And I'm sorry, I did skip one of the Denver City Council members, Robin Kanish. There you are, I'm sorry. So, I also want to talk just real briefly about a couple of the very special staff members that have enabled this whole project to come together. Cynthia Nelson and Oriana Sanchez deserve special mention because this is a very complicated project financially. So they've really gone through a lot to get the financing structure worked out. In addition, Christy Mock and Joanne Toney, who will be managing the facility, have been key participants in the overall process for developing the design and the execution of this project. So thank you, Christy and Joanne. Okay, so now, hopefully without messing up anybody else's name, I certainly don't want to start with this next gentleman I'm going to introduce. Let me try to embarrass him a little bit, though, to say that he probably doesn't remember the first time that I met him. I'm speaking of Michael Hancock. There was a friend of mine, Brian Barha, who started an organization called Youth Biz in 1992. And Michael was one of the first participants in Youth Biz. So I think that at that point in time, it was evident that he had that leadership capability that is now so clearly evident. And with what he's accomplished already within his short tenure as mayor of the city and county of Denver, he's a very busy guy, and we really appreciate all the support that Michael has facilitated with his colleagues and co-workers at the city and county of Denver. And with that, I would like to have you, Michael, please, Mayor Hancock, step up.
Thank you, Forrest. What I remember about that is we both had hair at that point. That's what I remember. Good morning, everyone, and what a fabulous day it is to be here this morning. I want to join in celebrating the venerable organization, the MHCD, for the progress being made here today on this great project that was brought to my attention, I think maybe almost 3 years ago. And what an exciting moment it is to be here today to really break ground on this. Let me join in acknowledging again a steadfast supporter of this project, the incomparable Robin Kanish, who would not let it go. And we want to thank you for that. We also want to thank Kevin Flynn, who represents this area, for being here. And of course, former City Councilwoman, my good friend, Judy Montero, who is here as well. Judy Montero, who is a huge proponent of these projects. She would not want me to call her out because she's probably here in her professional capacity, but I've got to acknowledge our former First Lady Jeannie Ritter, who is really one of my closest advisors on mental health services. Jeannie, thank you very much for being here, and it's good to see your lovely face. To my man, Dr. Carl Clark, it's good to see you and congratulations. I know no one works harder on these issues than Dr. Clark, and I count it an honor, really, to stand here with you today to break ground on this project. So thank you for your leadership on this, and all of the people who work for the Mental Health Center of Denver. Thank you so much, and congratulations for this moment. I'm sorry to have you keep clapping, but I have to acknowledge our Deputy Mayor and Director of Human Services, that being the Honorable Don Morris, who is here, as well as Rick Padilla, our Director of Housing, the Division of Housing for the City and County of Denver. I could not be standing here unless I'm on their shoulders, of course. These are the folks who are on the ground every day, making sure that we complete the task and the mission of providing housing for everyone in this city. I'm often asked, what is it that keeps me up at night? It depends on if my teenage daughter is out of the house at the time. But the real answer is, it really is about providing safe, stable, dependable, and decent housing for every citizen in this city. And like many cities across this country, we are falling short, and we have a challenge that we have to meet. Any given conversation, you'll hear anywhere from 45,000 to 47,000 deficit in terms of housing for people in this city who want to live here. And I simply have the audacity to believe that people who want to live in this city ought to be able to live here. And unfortunately, there are those who fall way beneath the margins of our city, who need a little more help than others. I'm so excited that the city put in motion the first social impact bond program ever in Colorado, and only the 9th in the city, 9th in this country, to help provide housing for chronically homeless. I also want to recognize the Office of Economic Development, which helped support this project by providing $600,000 in financing. Today marks the beginning of serving 60 chronically homeless individuals who will call Sanderson Apartments home under this program. We know that providing permanent housing can save the lives of our most vulnerable. It can turn their lives around and prevent them from landing in jail repeatedly for minor offenses, and protect them from unsafe, unhealthy realities of life on the street. And with the help of organizations like Mental Health of Denver, we are shifting the focus from courts jail, emergency rooms, and other safety net services to prevention and providing permanent housing. As many of you may know, we did a study of tracking 250 of our chronically homeless, and we found they cost the city of Denver, the taxpayers, some $11 million a year just in that cycle of streets to jail, jail to the emergency room, back to the streets, to detox, back to the streets. This is our way of breaking this cycle. When all is said and done, Denver's social impact bond program provide permanent housing and supportive services to 250 chronically homeless individuals. Combined, the 210 planned new housing units that will be built in the next 2 years under this project represent the most ever built for people in Denver who are experiencing homelessness in such a short period of time. 40 existing units will be utilized to provide housing through this program. Now, the Sanderson Apartments will allow the 60 program participants to receive care and services from MHCD so they can live more stably and independently. With partners like MHCD, I got to tell you, we will measurably improve the lives of people most in need by driving resources toward better, more effective programs. I want to say it again. Dr. Clark, it's a pleasure to be here. This is an innovative program. This is the right program. No matter where you go in the nation, it's these type of programs that prove the highest level of efficacy, and that is entering lives, giving people a stable place to call home, and then wrapping them with the social service network they need to reset their lives. So congratulations to you. The City of Denver is proud to be your partner. God bless you all, and thank you for being here today. And I have a note here that says, now introduce your good friend, Dr. Carl Clark, President and CEO of the Mental Health Center of Denver.
Wow, this is a great day. You know, Mayor Hancock, thank you. Thank you for your support, and thank you for your vision. And I thank the whole city of Denver because, you know what? We believe something different than the rest of our country believes. Our country does not believe everybody should have a place to live. But in Denver, we believe people should have a place to live. I'm excited about all the things that happened to make this happen too. You know, an idea that starts 3 years ago, it takes a lot of bright people coming together to make a project like this happen. And it includes things like the Governor Hickenlooper's Pathway Home Supportive Housing Toolkit, which is actual toolkit to figure out how to make projects like this happen. And we have a proclamation from the governor that was very sweet of him to do. Zach Schaffner helped us get this. Zach, where are you? Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it. And it's, you know, this one has a whole bunch of whereases, and they're all really good whereases, but the bottom line is this is Sanderson Apartment groundbreaking day. So thanks, Governor, for that. Yeah. And so, you know, we've been doing housing for 25 years here in Denver, and I can tell you, with all our efforts to do housing, we still don't have enough. If you talk to any of our case managers that meet somebody who's homeless on the streets, they can tell you it's the #1 issue of trying to find them housing. And it's actually gotten even more difficult as we've had this big influx of young people moving to Denver. Section 8 housing is not as available as it used to be in the past. And so projects like this make a big difference. Now, some people say, well, are there criteria for coming into an apartment like this? There is. You need a place to live. That's it. Some people say, do you have to already be in treatment? Do you have to, you know, not be using substances or things like that? No, this is what's called a housing first model. And what that means is we get people a place to live. And what we find is that their ability to get their lives together comes after that. It's very hard to get well if you don't have a place to live. So this is the biggest project we've ever done, 60 units. We have been doing units around the city and county of Denver for years. And I can tell you, it often starts with the community saying things like, we believe people should have housing, but we don't want them to be in our neighborhood. We don't want people with mental illness in our neighborhood. And what I can tell you is that there are already people with mental illness in every neighborhood. This affects 1 out of 5 people. And what we find is that when you get people in treatment, not only is it good for that person and that person's well-being, it has a ripple effect on the whole community. Now, sometimes it's the kind of wanting to push away. When you see somebody on the street that's homeless, they look different than you do. However, I would venture to guess that all of us would look the same if we had been on the streets for 3 or 4 days. It doesn't take long to become disheveled. And so I think that that barrier is something that goes away very quickly. All the other projects that we've done in Denver have resulted in this. 6 months after the project is fully functional and people are in the housing, the neighborhood says, what were we so worried about? You know, and they like the difference it makes. I think there are going to be a lot of things about this project that people are going to enjoy. It's a beautiful structure. You can see the renderings here on the side. And I think that that noise that I'm hearing from Federal right now is going to be blocked from the neighborhood. I think that's a good idea. Okay, so we're committed to being good neighbors. We've done good neighbor policies everywhere in the city. We will continue to work with Councilman Flynn to make sure that we have something that works for this neighborhood. We want to be good neighbors. If you look at our other properties around the city, often our properties look like some of the best in the neighborhood because we take care of it. And if there are things that come up, we want people to call us because we want to make a difference. So with all of that being said, it is my great pleasure to introduce Councilwoman Robin Knitsch, who has been a great supporter of this project, and I want to personally thank you.
Good morning. It's a great honor to be here, and I know we'll have many speakers talking about the partnership and the financing, and so as a direct representative of the people of Denver, I sometimes like to do something a little different at these groundbreakings, which is to think about the people we are building this for. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and imagine that since your early 20s, you had voices in your head, and those voices gave you fear and anxiety. And the only time that you could quell those voices might be when you hit a bottle. The bottle helped to quell those voices for you. And there were times when you had housing, but you couldn't quite keep it. You couldn't quite keep your income going, and maybe your family got tired of helping you out the 10th, the 20th, the 30th time, and you find yourself sleeping in an alley. Keep your eyes closed and imagine that you're a veteran. You've been through Iraq. You went on patrol after patrol when you didn't know when the next bomb might hit, when you might lose a member of your team, your patrol. And that anxiety comes to you every time you try to close your eyes at night. And you can't keep your job because you can't keep the calm feeling. You can't focus on your job because these flashbacks are getting you. Or you have deep swings. You maybe have the highest of highs where you feel like you can accomplish anything, and the lowest of lows. And again, you find yourself without the stability. Maybe you've gotten some help sometimes. You got an appointment where you could get medication, but you can't quite get there because you forgot what day of the week it was. And there's some very nice people with an outreach team who come to you and they say, I have a shelter you can sleep in, and maybe you try it. But there are so many people around, and you're having one of those low lows, and you can't handle all of the people around you in that communal space, and you say, no, thank you. And you sleep outside in the rain with a cardboard box. These are the individuals: schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, multiple personalities, deep depression. These are illnesses that might happen to people in our lives who happen to have insurance and are able to get medication and live successfully. But it also happens to individuals who may not have the insurance, who may not have the support, and they find themselves desperate and with nowhere to sleep. And that's who we are here for today. We're here for those men and we're here for those women because this community cares. probably as an elected official, more often than any other question I get from my constituents is, I feel so moved when I see someone and I can tell that they're struggling on the streets. How can I help? What can I do? We're here today, and you can all open your eyes now. We're here today because this is doing something. Doing something is building housing with no strings attached, as Dr. Clark stated, right? Come in, get warm, get safe, and then we'll start tackling the voices. We'll start tackling the highs, and we'll start tackling the lows. And we'll start tackling the things that you might have turned to when you didn't have medication, when you didn't have support, when you didn't have a team. That's what this housing represents. It represents a community doing something. And we have to innovate. We know that each time we try something, we're going to learn. And this provider, Mental Health Center of Denver, has never forgotten something known as a tax credit from the federal government, which is a very complicated, bureaucratic, and difficult process. We in government have good rules, and we have them for good reason, but that doesn't mean they're easy to navigate. But we can only have one provider at a time, can only apply for one tax credit at a time, which means that if we don't have more organizations and agencies learning to navigate and learning to do this kind of housing, we won't build enough fast enough for the people who are struggling. And that's why I'm appreciative of them taking the leap for this new process that they've gone through. I'm appreciative of all of the departments, all of the agencies who are here today. And I want to say that on behalf of those who struggle through their own bureaucratic processes to apply for housing, to figure out which door to go through, to figure out how to get health care, that's the same kind of struggle they have on a daily basis. So it's good for us to take a moment and have a little empathy, right, for the kind of process we went through to build this housing and the process that our individuals who we're going to house go through. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today, and to the residents of Denver, I want to say it helps. Every little bit helps. We can make a difference. One housing unit at a time makes a difference for the individual or the family who's housed there. We stay focused on that. We'll continue to make progress and improve this community for all our residents. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councilman. We have some very special guests that I'd like to introduce now. These guests are from the Children's Learning Center, and they've been waiting very patiently. So these are the next generation of folks that will be coming up and doing projects like this around their neighborhoods. So thank you, kids, for being here today, and I hope you're having a fun time. Are you having a fun time? Yes? Okay. Well, thanks, kiddos. Good to have you here. So the next person that I want to introduce is Melinda Pollock, who is the Vice President of Transit-Oriented Development and Denver Market Leader for Enterprise. Enterprise is one of the key financial participants in the assemblage of this whole social impact bond supportive housing endeavor. So Melinda would welcome you to the podium.
I think I'm actually the sole housing wonk representative up here, so I thank you, Mental Health Center of Denver, for making me the sole representative, and I'll try to represent us all well. I want to start actually by acknowledging, besides Mental Health Center of Denver and Enterprise, two of the other really key participants in the social impact bond. So our partners from the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless are here, and we also have folks from the Corporation for Supportive Housing here. And this past year and a half has been a journey together for all four of our organizations along with the city in pulling this program together. And none of us would be here without each other. And we wouldn't be able to tell you that 22 people are already housed. I think, is that right, Louise? 22 are already housed through the Social Impact Bond since its launch about 6 or 8 weeks ago. And so we're so appreciative, particularly for the coalition's leadership, giving us the head start that we're going to need to move folks into this housing at about this time next year. As we all know, ending homelessness is going to take a growing alliance of people and organizations working together. And just as Councilman Kniech stated, today is a really, really important step as the Mental Health Center of Denver breaks ground on its first permanent supportive housing property and joins us, the community of low-income housing, tax credit, finance partners, and developers. So we're so glad. We need you, and we're so glad to have your partnership, and we know that this is really just the start. Enterprise in particular, we're so pleased to be your partner in this deal. There are a number of aspects in which we're participating in this property as your tax credit investor, as a grant maker, and probably most importantly through our partnership with the Social Impact Bond. We just thank you for this important step in your leadership, and we want to recognize that this 60 is just your down payment, and we're ready to get started on the next 60 whenever you are.
So sometimes we start an event with a statement, a prayer. Other times you finish an event with a statement or a prayer. In this case, I'd like to invite Denny Middle to the podium. Denny is the Director of Faith and Spiritual Wellness for the Mental Health Center of Denver. So Denny, please join us.
Good morning. Would you please stand as we ask a blessing on this groundbreaking and what will transpire here shortly. Thank you. As we bless this ground, we stand at a sacred intersection where brick and mortar will meet grace and humanity. As we bless this ground, we set it apart for the purpose of safety and shelter and well-being. May the architect of our lives bless those who had the vision, those who formulated the plans, and those who raised the resources to bring us to this moment. Bless this ground as it yields to pick and shovel, bearing the foundation for a dwelling of hope. Bless those who construct this building with safety and reward in their labor. May all who live here find fruitful relationship and be blessed with purpose and peace. For this neighboring community who have opened their hearts, may they be abundantly blessed in return. And finally, bless this future structure with strength and stability, and may it be an enduring haven of justice and compassion for all who dwell here. May it be so. Thank you. Be seated.
So there's a lot of folks that have been key to allowing this project to move forward. And among them, there are neighbors, obviously, such as Ginger Schulte, folks who come to this event today wondering what the impact might be on their community. And we're glad to have a neighbor like Ginger be here and listen to what we're presenting. Similarly, Councilman Flynn, who has been watching the development of this all along, and we appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to get so informed about our project. So I want to once again thank Councilman Flynn and Ginger Schulte, the neighbor who is here today. Ginger, would you like to step? There you are, you're right there. Please stand up. would you like to speak? Sure.
Can you hear me? Okay. This morning I want to talk to you about change and hope. My family, 3 generations, have lived in this neighborhood for nearly 70 years. In that time, there has been one constant: change. Some good, some not so good. Here once, all you would see was farmland. Now stands a neighborhood of homes that was built to house World War II veterans and their families. Sanderson Gulch was once a wild and woolly place where children, such as my husband, who came here as a 5-year-old, and my children, played and fished and gathered snakes and crawdads far from the eyes of their parents. Just 4 blocks from here, here's a local swimming pool, became a condominium complex. Federal Boulevard, which was once primarily a residential street, has morphed into a busy commercial avenue. And today, yet another change will begin at this property. Once farmland, then an office building, and now an apartment building called Sanderson Apartments. These are just a few of the many changes that come to mind in our Marley neighborhood. So is this change good or not? I really don't know. However, I have hope. Hope that those operating it will do so in a manner that allows it and those seeking housing here to be part of the Marley community in the best way possible. Hope that current neighbors and our new neighbors will work together to resolve the concerns that are part and parcel of all neighborhoods. Hope that those taking the first step towards supportive housing will gain a foothold that affords them the dignity and independence we all strive for. That's my hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Those were wonderful words. Thank you so much for that. So, in addition to the neighbors, I want to acknowledge some other supporters that have been absolutely key to make this project come together. The Colorado Housing and Finance Authority is one of the key funding conduits for this. Enterprise is a key partner in the overall financial plan. We have the UMB Bank as a key funder of the project for the tax credit financing. The Colorado Division of Housing, another partner, and the Denver Housing Authority. We also have the Denver Office of Economic Development, as well as the City of Denver Social Impact Bond Initiative. So I want to thank, again, all of those entities for your participation, your support in allowing this project to get underway. And please join me with a handshake and applause for these folks. Thank you. Now, there's also the construction piece of this. And in terms of the construction, we've got Davis Partnerships, who are the architects that have been working with MHCD on this project. We have Danuve Construction, the general contractor, who will be hopefully breaking ground here soon. And then beyond the construction design and actual implementation, we have a couple of more really key consultants who've made this thing come together. SB Clark Company, Steve Clark, Laura Clark are here. Steve and Laura have spent a lot of time working on the mechanics of this complex financing. And MHCD has benefited greatly with the assistance of a consultant to help us figure out the jigsaw puzzle that is this financing structure. SCB Consulting, Shannon, you're here someplace. But please join me in giving a hand to all of these folks who have helped out on the construction and design and financing for this project. So we're almost to the point where we're going to have a chance to shovel some dirt. I would like to thank all of you for being here today, and you're invited to please come to the shoveling of dirt, which will take place immediately. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, shovel!